Welcome to Ascension Whispers. This is Marie Love, and the title of this message that I'm going to read to you is called The Antidote. It is a huge step in the healing process to remember and accept the fact that all of humanity is Source embodied. For millions of years, humanity has been seeking Source. Many use the word God. I prefer the word Source. I do so because the thoughts and beliefs of humanity have created many false beliefs of what Source may be. When we realize that all of creation is energy, and that energy cannot be created or destroyed, it becomes a bit easier to remember that all of creation is the same energy, expressing as different forms. Some people continue to ask me, well, what is the energy of this level of a diagram, an illustration called? It's all Source. Humans are the only ones that desire to take apart the energy of Source and name the pieces different names, and doing so is a process of healing to remember the truth. Doing so, science doing so, is the process of science taking apart the image of the illusion that we call matter manifest, which is a holographic image. So, when I am talking about the energy of Source, I'm talking about all of creation. You can name the images of Source anything you want to. Humanity has named the entire hologram, the entire Earth hologram, for millions of years, whatever names they desire to apply to the thoughts that they create. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. But it's all Source. It's all the same energy expressing as different forms. So you can call the energy of Source protons, neutrons, electrons, positrons, any drons that you want to think of. Whatever word you want to think of, you can name the energy of Source that name. It doesn't change the fact that it's all the energy of Source, because there is nothing but Source within all of creation. This scientific truth has been known within science for at least hundreds of years, and taught to children in school for at least hundreds of years. Yet, it had not been possible for humanity to begin to apply this truth to themselves. This is because the brain of each generation has been programmed with the false beliefs of those who came before them. Just like the information that I shared with you on the Ascension Whispers website. You live inside of a star. You are a star. That's not what children are taught in school. So that's not how humanity thinks and believes, because we forgot the truth and because everyone believes what their brain's programmed to believe. It is also because the energy of the collective was not high enough in energy to begin thinking differently than the brain programming received. It would be a bit easier for more of humanity to begin to remember the truth were it not for the New Age and ET movements. We can already see that many people are starting to step away from ancient religious beliefs, but these newer movements continue to pull people into fear and superstitious thought patterns. However, what we call today the New Age and ET movements are simply a repeat of the same thoughts that created the religious movements. They are simply playing out within a different level of energy. In fact, the word religion is derived from a Latin word, which I am not really sure how to pronounce, but it is spelled Religio. So I'll try to pronounce it and say religio. The classical explanation of the word can be traced to Cicero, who created the meaning of go over again. That is what religion, the original meaning of Cicero, applied to the word religion, borrowed from this Latin word of meaning to go over again. The term religio, if I'm saying that correctly, originally meant an obligation to the gods, as in plural, gods. Today we call these same gods ETs. The ET and the New Age movements are the result of the same DNA coding held within humanity, playing out once again as humanity has reaccreted the energy lost and turned back on the same DNA coding that played out in previous lower energy time cycles. These movements are the result of humanity walking through the same DNA coding, which is what karma is. And this brings a much larger meaning to the term do-over. Were it not for the fact of humanity being reconnected to Source Mind, and now being able to receive the higher energy of Source, new religious cults would have taken a stronghold, with the new gods being the ETs. Some people are playing out such thoughts. Many people are still waiting on their belief of a God, be it one that looks human or one that looks like an alien life form, to come down to earth and save them. Many people believe they have found their Savior. All such thoughts are the result of the loss of the energy of Source humanity has experienced. And now how humans perceive thoughts within their own body-brain system. It is but one example of the fact that the history of humanity is stored within the dormant, not junk, DNA, and that it can turn on to play out again until it is purged or this ascension cycle completes. This is the last ascension cycle, if you have not integrated that information from the Ascension Whispers website. What we are seeing play out as the controlled earth paradigm, wars and the politics, and all of this stuff that we see flashed across controlled mainstream media, are also a repeat of thoughts that have previously played out. They simply look different and will play out different because they are doing so within a higher level of energy. The higher level of energy has been possible because over 7 billion faces of Source embodied through human consciousness. That is what procreation allows for. In the process of consciousness that has fallen in energy, healing to remember the truth that they are Source embodied, there is nothing wrong in personifying Source or creating an image of Source that looks like some type of manifest image. Source is all of the manifest images of creation at the same time, as there is nothing but Source. It is when consciousness forgets the truth, creates false beliefs, and are easily controlled by the fear that hides the truth, that consciousness takes on the role of the victim. That is why the old statement, "The truth shall set you free," is a true statement. Humanity simply had no idea what the truth might actually be. The largest percentage of humanity remain trapped in fear, with the strongest fear held within them being fear of death of the human body form. There are many other fears held within human consciousness, but they all come back to this one fear. They are all fears of the unknown. Once we know, once we remember the truth that we are an eternal expression of Source, we can quickly heal to realize there is nothing at all to fear. Earth is similar to a mental hospital. And as in any hospital, there are varying levels of illness. The factions controlling the Earth hologram, making the rules humans are forced to live by, could be considered as mentally insane. Anyone that desires to harm another life expression of Source, that desires to control faces of Source and the energy of Source, or hates anything within creation, is dealing with a level of mental illness. Real mental illness is the result of lacking the higher energy of Source. Real mental illness is distorted thoughts. People hearing voices in their head or refusing to comply with the controlled paradigm does not mean they are mentally ill. Emotional imbalance does not decree mental illness. It simply means that the hormones in the body are out of balance, which can occur via experiencing imbalanced thoughts programmed into the human DNA. When we reach a point of healing to remember we are Source embodied, on a mission to bring part of ourself that became extremely ill back into balance, it becomes easier to continue to walk within the mental hospital of Earth. We must remain aware of what is going on around us, because what is going on around us is actually going on inside of us. This is because everything we see and believe is going on around us is thoughts playing out within the active DNA in our personal body-brain system. In remembering our power, as shared in the previous recording, we can quickly see what we must do and why love is the only way to assist to heal anything. We can quickly see that the first person we must love is ourself. When we love ourself, we become a sphere of the love of Source. We then radiate the love of Source in every direction. Perhaps imagine a cell filled with tiny particles that we would call chemicals. When each chemical is radiating love, the cell radiates love. That is what it means to create more balance in the human body. It is what it means for a collective of faces of Source to express imbalance. The love being radiated is the antidote for what allows humans to be mentally ill. It is the only antidote that can heal all that became imbalanced within human consciousness. When we continue to fill ourself, our body, with the love of Source, it becomes much easier to pick ourselves back up when we stumble, trip, or fall down, as we continue our journey through the mental hospital, collecting our fragmented pieces. Even though humanity has created many false beliefs of Source expressing as many different gods, it has always been and will always be the love of Source that continues to flow within humanity, that continues to lead the way back into balanced freedom. It is not an accident that a population explosion occurred after World War II, beginning with what are now called the baby boomers, categorized as birthing between 1946 to 1964. That is a U.S.-created label there, so it's not a black and white statement by any means. It was not an accident that the hippie movement occurred. It was the first wave of the higher energy of Source birthing into the hologram. And the first wave is now planning their exit strategy. They may not yet be aware of it, but they are. As well, most people are not aware that what humans call the white race are working on becoming extinct from the Earth hologram. Those who hold positions of power are very aware of this and hold it within their inner basket of fears. When we talk about the color of the human body, there are now new colors other than the ones humans always point to, expressing within the Earth hologram. This too is a result of merging fragmented consciousness back into one. It's rather comical when we stop and think about this from a higher level of energy. Try to do that. Try to focus your energy as if you're sitting above Earth and looking down on Earth. And think about all of these things playing out within the drama of the Earth paradigm. And then allow yourself to shift your focus around and look around the rest of creation and everything that you see. Can you imagine that this type of drama is playing out with anywhere else in anything that you see? If you're able to shift your focus of energy and raise up to that higher level of energy and imagine yourself sitting in what we call outer space above the Earth, you won't feel any of this drama that's playing out on Earth. You won't hear anything. Well, it depends on from what level of energy you're focusing to see and listen. You can hear when you're embodied. When you shift to a higher level of energy, you can hear the beautiful sounds of the vibration of the what we call planets and the sun within the solar system. But you can only hear those things when you're embodied. But when you focus looking at creation from a higher level of energy, you see the beauty of creation. You feel the beauty of Source within yourself. You don't feel all of this drama that's playing out within the Earth hologram until you lower your focus of energy and focus back into the Earth hologram. That is, just try that. Try that within yourself if you haven't. You'll be amazed when you can focus your energy higher than what is perceived, seen as the Earth hologram. The difference in the way the energy of Source feels when you're not focused within the drama playing out within the Earth hologram. There, I got off on a tangent again. Let me find the point that I stepped out of my reading here. Oh, talking about how comical it is when we stop and think about this, all of these racial issues playing out within human consciousness. Because when such mixing of genetics occurs within any other species of life forms on the Earth, humans are amazed to discover a new species. In fact, humans have been creating new species all along. They simply do not see it as such, or they don't think of it like that. They're not aware of it like that. An example of that is domesticated dogs. Humans have created those. The way that we have experienced things like that being created is watching the steps, watching our thoughts play out within the hologram to allow such things to occur. But that's just watching the thought manifest within the hologram. The thought occurred before it began to manifest within the hologram. That's what it means, that all of our thoughts are creating the holographic reality field. It required so many faces of Source to be embodied on Earth, to be able to receive and anchor the higher burst of radiation that occurred in October 2012. Doing so is what allowed humanity to be able to be reconnected to our Sun Source Mind. It is what opened the exit door, also known as the gateway, and the ascension passage from the Earth hologram. This is what fallen consciousness did not know was possible, and is why there was so much hype around the end times, many believing it to be going to be the end of Earth. It is no longer necessary for the population to continue to increase. The so-called statistics that continue to report the population reaching a certain level by a certain year do not know what they're talking about. They are basing such numbers on the history of the population explosion, knowing full well that the yearly rate of birthing continues to decline. The population size will continue to remain the balance that is necessary to keep the ascension passage open through the completion of the ascension cycle, holding the doorway open while humanity continues to make their exit. Population size statistics are generally based on the U.S. population, with a larger range thrown in from around the world. This is because it is the U.S. generally providing such numbers to the citizens in the U.S. As well, such statistics also point to the reasons of such a population explosion as being better health care, better sanitation, better diets. That is rather comical when we look at more of the world population numbers and realize that the largest population explosions have occurred within the poorest countries, who have little, if any, access to such things. It is not an accident that the largest number of faces of Source has birthed into the poorest regions. That is where the largest amount of the energy of Source has been required, as such people are dealing with more fears simply because of the conditions they are trapped within. Many people who held faith in Source have lost faith in Source since the prophesized end-time drama has come and gone. Yet, many people still hold fast to the promise of a Savior. Many people consider themselves as atheists, but the concept of atheist is poorly understood. For most, it simply means they do not believe in superstitious beliefs of gods. When we remember the truth, that is not really a bad place to be in either. There's not brain programming of different deities that has to be reprogrammed. Humans have prayed to some belief of Source for a very long time. Prayer is talking to Source. Meditation is listening to Source. When we remember that all of humanity is Source embodied, it means that it is a process of talking to yourself. It is a process of listening to yourself. It also means that Source is the only one listening, and that Source hears every single prayer and every single thought. It is the plight of human suffering that has assisted to keep the love of Source alive within humanity. Such suffering is what has continued to allow humans to seek Source, to seek a power that they feel is greater than themselves to end their suffering. It is what has allowed humanity to continue to focus their thoughts within Source, even though they forgot the truth. That is the only good thing about the terrible wars that continue to play out within this hologram. They continue to allow people to pray. It is truly intended that you can recognize how important your presence within the Earth hologram is. The mission has been successful, As soon as humanity was reconnected to Source Mind, the mission was successful. Humanity would not be able to receive the higher energy that we are receiving unto the hologram from our Sun Source Mind if humanity was not reconnected to our Sun Source Mind. And we can tell just by looking at the changes that are occurring within the hologram that global warming is occurring. Now, of course, science, the different science factions that are arguing over themselves, is global warming occurring? No, it's not occurring. This global warming thing has turned into a multi-billion-dollar industry within the controlled economy. So it's like a cure for cancer. Cancer is a multi-billion-dollar, if not a trillion, probably $1 trillion piece of the controlled economy. So when those type of things are feeding the controlled economy, they're not going to go away anytime soon. They're pushing the controlled paradigm along. But global warming, man's carbon footprint, humans' carbon footprint, is of course having an impact within the biosphere of Earth, but it is not what is creating what is called global warming. It's not what's melting the ice and creating all of the weather changes. That is a result of humanity being able to receive the higher energy of Source from our Sun Source Mind. And that only begins to make sense when we realize that what we are experiencing as a biosphere is a hologram, that it doesn't really exist outside of humanity, that it is thoughts playing out within the body-mind expression of each individual person. It's not really on the outside of us. So there is nothing really on the outside of us that is heating up and melting. An image, a holographic image, cannot heat up and melt. If you think of even the science fiction things, like in Star Wars, of images hanging out in the air, holographic images, that you cannot melt a holographic image. It's a thought. So the heating up is not actually occurring within what we call solid matter. What we call solid matter is thoughts we're experiencing as they turn on, run, like a video playing through our body-mind system that is programmed into human DNA. Human DNA is the software that the movie is coded within, and it's playing out within the body-mind expression of each person. So global warming is not occurring on the outside of us. It's occurring on the inside of us. And it's not occurring as a result of humans' carbon footprint. The choices that humans are making in tearing the biosphere apart to create what we call fossil fuels and create artificial technology and all of these man-made things is actually a result of humanity reclaiming their energy back unto their self. It doesn't look like that as you look at it within the hologram and you experience the holographic reality of it, but that's actually what is occurring. Humanity is Source embodied, reclaiming the energy of Source that fragmented and fell in energy to create this Earth holographic reality field. And all of that energy that became fragmented and imbalanced is returning to the higher energy of our local source mind, our star, to the center of our star. and that is actually the truth behind what is creating global warming. Not all who have birthed into the earth hologram did so with the intention of living to a ripe old age within the human body. In fact, none that birthed since the first wave of the population explosion, which were called baby boomers, intended to do so. It is similar to a mission of getting in, doing what needs to be done, and getting back out. It was not possible to get back out until the exit gate was opened. Now it's opened. That was the main part of the mission. It is still a process of collecting as much as possible while we remain, and we are doing so simply by having the earth life experience and drawing our thoughts back to ourselves. The prayers of humanity have been answered. It is simply that most of humanity are not yet aware of it. Humans are free. Humans have always been free. Humans simply forgot that because of the loss of energy that created the fragmentation. Once you complete the earth life experience, you will remember this truth, if you do not before then. The truth will always set you free, as you are the antidote that holds the truth. Loving joy blessings to all. Bye for now.